What happens when a city councilman, a runner, and a proud Boca dad decides to step up and run for mayor of Boca Raton? Stick around. Andy Thomson is about to take us behind the scenes. Hey now, friends.
Hi.
Welcome to the Digital Mayors Podcast, where we bring you the stories behind the people, the businesses, the organizations, and the must-visit places that make South Florida an incredible place to live, work, play, learn, and give.
That is right, Dan. Whether it's a nonprofit changing lives, the entrepreneur building something amazing, or a hidden gem you need to check out, we're here to shine a light on what makes our community thrive.
So if this is your first time here, welcome. Thank you for joining us. We are really glad that you found us. Our podcast is all about uncovering the gems of South Florida and really sharing inspiring stories and connecting you with the people who make South Florida just a special, special place.
Yes, and if you're a returning viewer or listener, welcome back. Seriously, we appreciate you. This community is growing because of you. And we love having you along for the ride. So please subscribe, leave us a 5-star review, and share this episode with someone you know that will enjoy and appreciate it. That's the way that we grow.
Yeah, it's the only way we grow.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for that. And before we dive in, drop a comment or DM us. What is your favorite local South Florida gem? It could be a restaurant, a park, or an event spot. We really want to learn more, and we might even give you a shout out in the next episode.
Absolutely. So today's guest,
Ooh,
he's a busy guy.
he's a busy guy.
I thought I was busy.
No.
This is a busy guy.
Yes.
You've probably seen him running around picking up trash, maybe at a city council meeting or shaking hands at local events. Andy Thomson is a Boca Raton city councilman, a proud husband and dad, community first leader, a runner, an attorney, an adjunct professor at FAU, and because he has so much spare time, he recently announced his run as candidate for mayor of Boca Raton. Please welcome Andy Thomson to the podcast.
Andy, welcome. We're excited to
Welcome.
have you.
Bella, it's such a joy to be here. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, we are really excited to have you. And before we jump in, if you're thinking about buying, selling, or financing real estate in South Florida, timing and strategy are critical. The Nathanson Brothers Real Estate and Mortgage Team is here to walk you through exactly how current market conditions and economic trends are impacting property values today. Just mention the podcast and we will give you a complimentary equity review plus up to $750 credit towards your appraisal when working with the Nathanson Brothers Real Estate and Mortgage Team. To get started, where do they go, brother?
NathansonBrothers.com.
That's the place.
Now, when you say complimentary, you mean like, wow, that's a lot of equity.
Nice
That's
things
really
about their
nice.
equity. Yeah, that's really
good. All right. And that'll be $1,000.
Correct. No.
I'm just joking. So, Andy, welcome to the
Fellas,
show.
welcome.
Thank you for
Brothers,
being
thank
here.
you.
We're excited to have you.
Yeah.
So let's start this. You've worn a lot of hats. Attorney, councilman, husband, dad, runner, kayaker, and now a mayoral candidate. What made you say, yep, it's time to run for mayor?
That's a great question. I was blessed in 2018. I got elected for the first time on the city council, and I've served in that role for about 5 years. And you guys are Boca through and through. I am too. My parents met here in the 60s when FAU first opened up. They were one of the first classes that graduated from there. So Boca is in my blood. FAU is in my blood. And if you care about a place like this the way that we do, and you want to make sure that it continues to thrive and maybe improve a little bit, what's the one thing you got to do? You don't talk about it, you do it. You got to get involved and be about it, right?
Yeah, don't talk about it, be about it. Baby.
Exactly.
Should be in a song.
I heard that somewhere before. And so that's one of the things that drove me to want to run, to be on the city council and become a policymaker, but also to now run to be the next mayor of Boca Raton, because this place is so unique. The quality of life is so good. We got to keep it that way, and we got to make it a little bit better in ways we can. That's why.
I love that.
That's really cool.
And so you've been a city councilman now, right? What was 7 years, right? What are a couple of wins that you're proud of?
Oh, there's been a bunch over the course of time, guys.
Yeah.
Let me think. Brightline Station got approved. I helped approve it to make sure that it came to the city of Boca. That's been a very important.
Thank you.
Well, it was my pleasure. That has been a very important transit addition to our city. We, for the first time, needed a new elementary school built in Boca, and the city donated the land to create what is now called Blue Lake Elementary. Several of my kids go there now. 4 have gone there over time, and over time 5 will go there. I have 5 kids.
Wow.
What's another win? We've lowered our property taxes 4 or 5 times in my time on the city council.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
You're welcome. We've increased funding for things like beaches and parks, because think about it, the recreation in this city, second to none,
Right.
elite. And we want to stay that way. We want to keep it that way.
Yeah.
And so we want to make sure that we put our money where our mouths are when it comes to how good our recreation facilities are. And another thing, too, that we've done is we've made sure that we prioritize public safety. Government, first and foremost, is here to make sure people feel safe. And we, same way, increase funding year over year for our police and fire services to make sure that people feel safe, they know they're safe, and that is what attracts businesses, people, everything to make Boca the unique place that it is.
Awesome. Man, that's it?
Yeah,
no, that's
right.
just,
Oh,
that's just
wait,
a few.
We got 60 minutes, so I'm just going to keep going down
That's
the
a
line.
handful. I love that.
So what's one part of your job as a councilman that people don't understand or know?
Oh, that's a good question. Yeah, stuff they don't see.
Interesting. What's one thing? So often people ask, how much time does it take to be a city council person? And the strict answer is we have meetings twice a month where you have a workshop meeting where people can discuss ideas, and then the next night we have our regular meeting where we vote on policy. And those meetings themselves only take up, I don't know, it depends. It's gotten longer over time, but 5 or 6 hours total, and they're only every 2 weeks, right? But what I find most rewarding is helping people with the little things behind the scenes. Yes, we are at meetings, speaking in front of microphones and making policy. That's like what people think of when they think of the job, right? But I love helping people with permitting issues or issues with their sidewalks or things that help them open a business in town.
Right.
What some people would think of as little things, I love making sure that those things improve over time and making sure that people have and know that their government is responsive for them. So I love helping people with, here's an example. Coming up, we have Easter. Easter is this following Sunday, just a couple of days from now. And a few years ago, the city was having trouble accommodating all of the various churches that wanted to have sunrise services on the beach.
Really?
In Boca. We have a lot. We are blessed to have a number of religious institutions and houses of worship here. They all wanted to take advantage of the incredible resources we have in the form of the beach. Right. And it just was difficult to accommodate everybody. But I helped work with our staff and with the church community to make sure that everybody could get in there and enjoy the time for a Sunday service for Easter. So that was that kind of flies under the radar. That's not going to be talked about in a meeting. Nobody's going to write about it. It doesn't matter. But helping people enjoy and be able to worship freely in this town is very important to me. And that was a nice thing that I was able to help participate in.
And that's truly behind the scenes, right? Because the parishioners, they just get the invitation for Sunday service at the beach. They don't know that
What went into it?
this was going to be an issue because that church and that church also wanted to do it. Exactly. That's very cool. I like that. Was a very good answer. But, I mean, we were hoping to learn
emblematic.
something.
Get into politics. That was really good.
That's seriously, guys, that is emblematic of the kinds of things that happen and that work. That kind of stuff goes on all the time. And it's not really one of those things you unless asked, talk about.
Sure.
But I love being able to help and participate in those kinds of things.
I think that's great. I mean, I so love living here. We moved here, I think it was 22 and 23 years ago or something like that. And I say to my wife, I guess not often, but I say to her, I want to die here. Not too soon.
Right. Take your time.
Either die or hopefully we won't be underwater at that point. But I love it here, man. It's just, I went and got a haircut today. Thanks for noticing.
I was going to say, you look good.
He didn't even say anything.
The sides look shorter.
So I was getting a haircut, and our barber, Mike, over at Ace's Barbershop, who is the coolest dude, does great haircuts. My kids will only go to him. He's from New York. I don't hold it that much against him. But actually,
You bust his chops
I
about
bust
it a
his
lot.
chops all the time.
Me too.
But he was just saying how much he loves. He's like, I got to go to New York this summer. I don't want to. I'm like, isn't here the best?
It's the best.
He's like, yes, it is the best. I love it here. Thank you for helping make me love it here.
Yes.
No doubt. And let me just throw a shout out to Mike. So one thing that a bunch of people don't know about me, although some of my friends do, is that I cut hair.
Do you?
Are you serious?
Including my own, believe it or not.
All right.
And
Nice.
I learned as a kid. I taught myself how to do it when I was like in middle school.
Really?
And I did it through college. In fact, I would cut like guys in my dorm room and stuff like
No
that.
kidding.
Make a little extra money.
And then remember COVID hit, all the barbershops closed.
Vaguely, I remember that.
Yeah, you heard of it.
I heard of it.
Perhaps you've heard of it. All the barbershops were closed, and I still had the clippers, but I hadn't used them at that point in like 20 years probably.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, and my son, I have 2 sons, they desperately needed haircuts, right? And so I was like, well, let's see if we still got it. And it looked better. Their hair looked better than I could have imagined. Yeah. And I was like, well, maybe try my son. And that was, I unfortunately, sorry, Rusty, I haven't been back to the barbershop since. This was 5 years ago.
Yeah.
And now I cut a bunch of my friends, their kids' hair.
No kidding.
Yeah.
A city
It's
councilman,
going to sound crazy,
potentially
but
mayor, barber.
it's therapeutic, actually.
Yeah.
You know, think about it. In government, in the legal profession, sometimes it takes months or years to get like a result or to see progress in like a tangible way.
Yeah.
But haircut,
you cut somebody's hair, you see
20
it.
minutes, you see an improvement.
Yeah.
Maybe not in my case. In Mike's case,
Right.
yeah, right. But, you know, plus when I'm doing it for myself, you know, you're willing to accept a certain degree
Yes.
of imperfection, you know,
Right.
but the price is right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, our father's been cutting his own hair for a million years. He uses, do you remember the Flowbee?
Flowbee
not the-
still
it is not
exists.
Flowbee.
It's not Flowbee, but it might as well
It's an
be.
off-brand, similar.
I
And
saw
by the way,
them-
during the lockdown, he cut our hair.
My son is still angry at him.
Because my brother and I live 7
houses.
houses away from each other, and Dad lives with me, and so everybody would come over and get our hair cut by Dad out on my back patio. But yeah, my nephew does still hold it against
My son wore a hat for an entire summer.
Yeah.
Because he was so upset.
Yeah, sorry.
Well, he was at that, you know.
Yeah,
right.
Oh, you're not
Kids,
there
man,
yet.
kids.
You're
Yeah,
not there
exactly,
yet. This one, he's 17 now, so he was 12-ish
sure.
then. Very sensitive to that.
Yeah,
I'm very
on
fortunate.
Zoom. Yeah,
My sons have like perfect hair.
lucky.
Like I could totally butcher it and it wouldn't matter. They
Right.
would look great.
Yeah.
They have hair that
So they get it from their dad. My brother and I
Yeah, this is what I'm working
yeah,
with.
this
No, but Mike did good. I noticed that.
Oh yeah, Mike.
Thank you.
Mike is.
Thank you, Andy. How do you balance the work of policy with the personal side of politics, being approachable, staying connected to the community, and serving your clients, students, and oh yeah, you have a family too.
Great question.
Yeah.
I cherish, as I mentioned before, I cherish being able to help people on the everyday things where government interacts with their lives, right? And what that means, though, is that you guys know I coach a bunch. I coach football. We're in the season now. I coach basketball and we coach baseball. We have a game tonight, playoffs.
Nice.
Go.
All right.
Yeah, and soccer occasionally. So I bring that up to say, you'd be surprised how often these things come up when I'm out there on the fields or in the court. I've heard people who are involved in government complain about that. I love it.
Yeah.
I love being that accessible, being available and responsive to be able to help them. Because for some people it can be intimidating to have to reach out to a member of their elected officials or to go to City Hall and speak at a meeting. I love being able to interact with people when it's at Publix or at the sporting facility.
Right.
You know, I think those are good things. That's one of the best parts about local government, guys, is that we are always here.
You're
Right.
local.
We're not in Tallahassee. We're not in Washington. We're not in wherever else. We're always here, and it really helps because I think it gives people a sense that these folks are here to help, and they're going to help us, and they're always around to be able to do that. I love having that opportunity.
Yeah, I find that cool too because, listen, when I first saw you or Mark Wigder or Bob Weinroth, I'm like, that's a politician. Like why am I in the same room as them? I felt very out of place, and then I met Mark Wigder and I met you and I met Bob. I'm like, oh, these are just people
Yeah.
who are servants, right, to the community. They
And
want
then
to
you
make
see
our
us
community a better
over
place.
and over and
Right,
over
he's
again
like,
and
"All right,
over, and
enough,
to the
enough
point where we're
already."
like, all right, enough already.
Yeah. Where do you coach basketball?
I coach at my church. Spanish River Church
Oh,
has
awesome.
a basketball league called Upward. That
Oh,
I coach.
Upward. Yeah, okay.
Legitimately, I've coached, I think, 15 seasons of it.
That's
I
awesome.
have 4 kids who have played so far.
Cool.
And, one's played for 5 years, one played for 3, one's played for 2, so it adds up.
That's awesome. I coach over at the YMCA. I've been coaching there for
Long time.
7 years,
Yeah.
7 years, 8 years, 4 seasons a year. I coach 2 to 3 teams at a time. I freaking love it.
That's a lot.
It is.
That's a lot.
Right,
I
listen, and
love it.
He coaches co-ed team and an all-girls team.
Yeah, I
He
don't
doesn't
have
have
any
any
girls.
daughters. Like
Yeah.
we don't have girls, but just they need it, and he loves it.
I love it.
And he loves to help and shape and motivate and inspire. I love that you guys do that. I think that's really cool.
And so interesting news on the basketball front. Boca Hoops was a long-standing Boca tradition they're going back 30 years. Closed up this past, I guess,
Right.
right?
It did.
Good news there is that a new entity has formed to replace it.
Yeah.
Boca Hoops 2.0. It's called the Boca Raton Basketball Club.
Yeah.
Okay.
And they're going to be doing. They're going to have a season in the fall coming up.
Registration starts soon.
So you know your stuff, man.
Yeah.
You know your
Adam
stuff.
Bailey. Yeah,
Exactly.
he's all
Yep.
over that.
Yep.
Yeah. I am glad. So we played in Boca Hoops a bunch of times. I love the culture. It was without technology. It was very.
It was poorly run.
There was some room for improvement on the
That's
edges,
that's the word I was looking
particularly in the
for.
technology front.
Yeah.
You're an attorney and a politician. That was very good.
And just like anything, just like government, there's always room for improvement.
Yes.
Right.
And we need to be mindful of that.
Yeah, of
I
course,
think
yes.
this new basketball organization is going to take the opportunity to implement some changes and
So
improvements.
for those of you at home, you're not going to have to wait in line for 4 hours to sign up for basketball anymore.
You don't have to bring the check.
Yeah.
Right. That's right.
It's-
Right. And again,
it's
hopefully,
huge.
like with everything, hopefully with each iteration, it just gets better.
Exactly.
All right. The goal is to improve. Like our dad's email signature, and what he's taught us forever is work with what you have and make it better.
Yeah. And again, I'm just so glad about that because I coached there a few seasons. And even last season, I submitted the application to coach. They never called me. They don't answer phone calls. And then the season started. My son was playing, and they're talking about needing coaches. And I'm like, I was already there. And at this point, I'm good. I'm good. And it sucked. I was upset. But
The new organization is going to strive to improve upon
I know
your
that.
processes.
yeah, I think that's great.
All right. So let's do this. Let's give a quick, huge shout out. You probably know these people over at Maggiano's Little Italy in Boca. That is our go-to spot for our BNI meetings. For our today happens to be Thirsty Third Thursday referral partner appreciation night, and just some great dinners too.
That's absolutely right.
It's the best.
It's not just the food, though. It's the service.
Yeah.
Right? Rajib and Zulma take care of us every week at BNI. The best servers.
Yeah.
Horacio runs the banquet space like a pro and happens to be Zulma's husband.
Yeah.
And Anik, the managing partner, he just treats you like family.
Yeah.
He's the
And
best.
Anik is the best. Just to give an
Do you know
example.
Anik?
I've known Anik for probably 10 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This man is salt of the
Correct.
earth and takes
Such a
care of
great guy.
people in a way that is
Listen,
unique these days,
So,
it seems.
so
right?
our mom passed away in October 2018. November is Thanksgiving. November was mom's favorite holiday. And we were going to have Thanksgiving, and neither of us felt like cooking. My sister-in-law didn't feel like cooking. Our aunt didn't feel like cooking. And so we said, we're going to order from Maggiano's. And went over, and Anik took such good care of us, and a bottle of wine and a hug. And he's just, and I don't want his head to swell too much.
It's
but just
already
a
big.
No,
good
he
guy.
deserves it.
Yeah.
I have a similar story. My
Yeah.
mom passed in a couple of years ago in 2022. And my dad, who's still around, comes and is able to spend a lot of time with me now because my mom, who had been sick, so after she passed, he's up in Boca a lot.
Okay.
And Maggiano's is by far his favorite restaurant. And whenever he's in there, Anik, it's like he stops everything in order to come and say hello to my father. He treats him like a superstar. In fact, he
different.
did this just a couple of days ago.
Oh, wow.
I eat dinner or lunch with my dad there often.
Oh, awesome.
That's awesome.
And it is a unique experience in a way I can't even really articulate. That's how well
So
he treats
unusual,
people. That's right.
And by the way, the restaurant is awesome, right? Scratch kitchen. They don't have microwaves. They only freeze the ice and ice cream pretty much. And they have just improved.
Oh, my God. Have
Changed
you
a
tried
couple
some of the new
recipes.
food?
No, but
Their chicken parm was our favorite.
Yeah.
And they improved it. Like when
made it
we
better?
heard that they changed the recipe, we got a little anxious, but they improved it. It was way better. And
The meatballs?
the meatballs, they're a blend Wagyu beef meatball. Oh my God.
exquisite.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's a chain, which
I
is
know.
amazing.
It's so weird that a chain is so
You
good.
would never think
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the people there, they're just the best, right? So listen, whether you are planning a networking event, a birthday party, or just a great meal, head to Boca Maggiano's. Tell them the bros sent you. Maybe tell them.
They'll charge you double.
Yeah. I was going to say, don't tell them. They'll charge trouble. So back to our regularly scheduled program. Walk us through a day in the life of Andy Thomson. Again, 5 kids.
Again, we only have 32 minutes
Yeah.
left.
Right. I'm not sure we have that kind of time, guys.
Right, but again, we said busy guy, 5 kids, a wife. You're an attorney. You're a city councilman. You're running for mayor. You coach 17 sports. I mean, you have a full day.
So I'll walk you through an average weekday.
Yeah.
Okay. It's obviously different on the
Yeah.
weekend,
Yeah.
but there's a couple variations that are good. So it starts early, typically 4:35. I hit the gym as best I can and lift for a little bit. Not necessarily doing the sauna, but I go and I get a lift. Back in time to make sure that my kids are awake because I have 3 elementary schoolers and 1 middle schooler. The youngest is 4 and not in school yet.
Right.
So I take all of them to school. I take the first 3 right at about 7:15. One's a safety patrol. She's got to get there right first thing in the morning. Yeah. Then I'm coming back after that, getting ready, and then I take my middle schooler to school. She goes to Spanish River Christian.
Okay. Awesome.
And then after that, I go and I hit the office to do some legal work.
work.
Yeah, do some legal work. Throughout the day, I will have the occasional city council thing that crops up, whether it's a meeting with a constituent or somebody who has a project coming before the city, something like that, where I'll meet with them, spend some time on the phone with them. Typically, we'll go and have some form of networking at lunchtime. I like to use the opportunity for that, like you guys do at Maggiano's. And throughout the day, there'll be more. It's mostly legal. I'm a lawyer, most of the week, the entirety of the week.
We don't hold it against you.
No, right. Thank you. And nighttime, so you get to be about end of work day. Then is when, you take off the lawyer and councilman hat and you put on the coach hat. So I currently we have football that is a couple days a week. I coach 2 teams, my 11-year-old and my 9-year-old. Wow. And I have a baseball season that's now, we're getting into the playoffs now. So we have a game tonight. And thank you. It was, of those sports, you guys understand this, if you've coached as much as you do, these are the times we cherish because these are fleeting moments, they are fleeting. And it does feel like at times like I'm bouncing from one thing to another and don't really ever get to fully appreciate each one thing for what it is. Sure. We do the best we can, though.
Yes, of
course. That's the nature of all of we
humanity,
do, you know? Some days during the week, I'll have to spend some time at FAU because I teach a course, like you mentioned. I teach local and state government at FAU in the political science department, which I love. Remember, I am the product of 2 owls of FAU. So when they asked me to teach there, I could not say yes fast enough. In fact, I volunteer my time there. I am so happy to be able to do that and have people who are interested in government and in politics be getting, get to know a little bit more about their local and state levels of government. So then that gets us to about game time for games or practice time for sports, right? And then we wrap things up and I come home and I typically do a little bit of catch up when it comes to particularly the city stuff at night. I like to, get back to people. We get a lot of emails throughout the day. I get back to folks typically at night. I don't need to sleep a lot. I never really have. So I'm,
it's a plus.
It can be, I'm burning the candle at both ends, I guess, but then we're back up at the next morning and back to it.
That's
now,
awesome.
Could I walk you through the weekends too?
Go
so the weekends is really our time to shine, right? Because we get a bunch of sporting events with my kids. That's when I like to, I have a 4-year-old, I mentioned that, who every day of the week, but really most earnestly on Saturday and Sunday, asked me, Dad, can we go on a run today?
Awesome. Wow.
And
that's awesome.
He has now over time, 3 of my kids have occupied this unique role where I normally have a double stroller when I do it, but now it's just one because my 6-year-old's a little too big for it. But his job, he sees it as an absolute requirement of his. His job is to point out the trash as we're running.
Love that.
And now there's also a Slurpee for him at the end.
Okay.
So it's just
win-win.
It's right, completely. So we do that typically on a weekday morning or weekend morning, Saturday. We hit the games for sports, baseball, football, basketball, whatever it is. And then we also will, me and my 9-year-old love to go kayaking where he fishes and I clean up trash in our waterways. I can talk a little bit more about that later. But we want to carve out a couple of hours worth of kayaking then too. Sunday, we go to church first thing. I teach Sunday school. And then the rest of the day is typically at home, enjoying, worshiping, praising God. And there'll probably be some kayaking then too.
That's very cool. Yeah.
That's great.
Not tired at all.
I absolutely
No,
love
it's good stuff.
Yeah.
These are the things that energize, at least for me.
I love that.
Do you want to talk about the trash?
Yeah, sure.
I
Yeah.
mean, it's
All right, those are a
pretty
couple
big
of your,
deal.
couple of your initiatives there, right? The things you do.
Sure. There's 2. There's the one that I do with running. That's the one my son has to go on runs all the time. The other one's kayaking. So the running one started a few years ago. We all have resolutions, right? New Year's resolutions. Yeah. So mine, I think it was 2021. No, it was 2019 actually. This is going back a ways. My resolution was to run more.
Sure.
We get to our age, it's not that easy to find a basketball game every day.
Right.
Plus my knees are breaking down. I feel it a lot more when we play now.
Yeah.
So I figured, I got to start incorporating something that's maybe slightly less hard on our joints. So I figured I want to run more. So first day, it was New Year's Day. I'm running to my gym to go and work out. And as I'm doing it, I'm seeing on the pathway on St. Andrews Boulevard between my house and the UFIT, all this trash on the sidewalk and in the street. And it like offended me because these are our streets. This is our community, So I get to the gym, I lift, and then I ask the person working the front desk, I say, hey, can I have a trash bag, like a small like trash bag for my run home. And I picked up all the trash that I could get on that route. I got about 3/4 of the way done. The bag was full, but I didn't get all the trash. There was still more trash. So the next day, as part of this resolution of mine, I'm going to run again. But this time I brought my own bag. And it hit me that this is something that, and I'll tell you the best part, the two best parts of this thing. It was that at that point that I said, running will be a lot easier for me to make it a habit and to make it, to see through this resolution if I incorporate this trash cleanup. One, it masks how slow I run, right? When you have to stop every few steps, right, to pick up trash, nobody cares about what time you run.
Nobody realizes you're catching your breath.
Right. And the next thing is I don't even remember that I'm running a lot of the time because you're not focused on how far have I run? How much more do I have to go? I'm just focused on the next piece of trash. It's perfect. And so that has actually made me, I'm not a good runner. I'll never be a good runner. But I am a consistent runner, more or less, because of that system that I've developed. And then it was a couple years later that I had the idea, because what I was doing was basically running my own neighborhood or the route between my gym and my house, which was immaculate, right, for the course of that time. But I was like, wait, what? Sure, if you're on St. Andrews, you're pleased, but what about all of the other 475 miles of streets in the city? I came up with the idea to take that and do it on every street over the course of the year. And it turns out we have a bunch of roads in our city, almost 500 miles worth if you add it all up. Every big road, every cul-de-sac, everything. And over the course of it took some work. I had to do it like 3 or 4 times a week. But we were able that first year, and I've done it again since, to hit every street. And in the process picked up, it was like 1,300 pounds of trash. And then remember, this is a city that's clean and beautiful already.
It's beautiful.
And one other initiative as part of that was when I'm out there, you get a really unique perspective on your community. And when you drive by in a car, you see roads in your city one way. But when you're out there on foot, from that perspective, you see it an entirely different way, particularly in a way that is personal to me. My mom, I mentioned she was sick. She was in a wheelchair for many, many years. And our roadway networks, sidewalk networks, are built not just for cars, though it seems like it's just for cars. They're built for everybody. But when you look at it from the perspective of the runner, the walker, somebody pushing a stroller or somebody in a wheelchair, you notice a lot of different things than you would in a car, right? And so as part of this process, what I was doing was identifying improvements that would impact and benefit folks who were in a wheelchair, walking, running. And so we started identifying safety improvements for people like that. And in just that first year, I think identified something like 325 sidewalk, roadway improvements that I report back to the city, and in the course of time,
use the app,
So I don't want to say that the app was. This is around that. Put it this way.
Okay, it wasn't quite in effect yet.
This was around the time the app started. It was right after I was reporting dozens and dozens and dozens of these by email.
Gotcha.
And it thankfully a few months later they realized that maybe there's a better way to implement this.
Let's get Andy off our back
and so the My Boca app is a perfect way for people to identify those things. And I haven't checked, but I think it's something like 500 safety improvements have been identified and improved in that time.
Just so you know, you inspired me. Not the running part. Screw that. But the trash thing. So in my neighborhood, we live in an amazing neighborhood, and we've got a great group of people that we walk our dogs together at night. We're called the Brookfield Barkers. And what I did is, when my wife comes with, she takes the dog, I get a trash bag, and I get one of those little claw things, and I pick up trash as we walk. And I feel good about it.
Yeah, love it.
I think it's awesome. So thank you.
And there's a pride of ownership, right?
Yeah.
And so actually the best part of this whole initiative, if you guys will indulge me just one more minute, is people would see me doing this. They would see this stranger running around in their neighborhood, wouldn't recognize him, but would see some of them, that the guy's picking up trash with his kids. And people start asking, what's going on? What are we doing here? And it started to, and I realized this had some resonance, I guess. And people would ask to participate. Some do it on their own, and that's actually the best because it's not like a one-day thing necessarily.
Like Forrest Gump running through the desert with a crowd of people.
Well, I used to make that joke, by the way, and I've been asked to speak about this at schools, and I was like, "There's 475 miles of cities in town, in the town, but like I'm not Forrest Gump. I can't run it all in one sitting." And I would get, "Who's that?"
Stupid kids.
Exactly. But the best part was that people would start volunteering to come and help do it.
That's awesome.
With me. And so over the course of time, we've had dozens of different, we've done it with PTAs, we did it with the cross-country teams at Spanish River, we've done it with Rotary clubs, we've done it with communities themselves, HOAs, we've done it with Who else? The junior league did it. The hospital, like people would volunteer from their places of work and say, "Hey, we love our city and we love the area surrounding our place of business. We're going to go out and we're going to participate and do this one day too." And so we've had over 1,000 volunteers in the last few years who have helped do this, which has been really, really, really cool. Yeah.
I love that. And are you familiar with like the Boca Run Club and the Deerfield Beach Run Club? Like the Deerfield Beach one is they start at Oceans 234 at Danielle Rossi's place. I mean, like that might be a group to connect with. Or like Kristen Ritchie's she's in a drinking group with a running problem. I think she joked about it one time. You know, like get a running club and just, hey, maybe do a service day, one day a month. As we run, we pick up trash, right? Because they have a big group of people. That might be kind of interesting.
They have a huge group. I've talked to the Boca Run Club, and here's how I incorporated them. This past year, 2024, we had a little innovation on the Run the City process. We created a virtual 5K. See, the Run Club has like 300 people that run the same route.
Right.
Yeah.
From the Runner's Edge store all the way to Spanish River Beach and then back. All it really takes is one person to pick up the trash on that one route.
Right.
Yeah.
The key is to get people to run different routes, right? And that's why we came up with the virtual 5K thing, where you would pick any 3.1 mile route anywhere in the city, anywhere on Earth. I don't care.
Right.
And so long as you take a bag and a glove with you and you pick up trash on the way, you brought it back to Runner's Edge, and we had I forget the numbers at this point, but I think it was like 250 people participated in that, including a bunch from Boca Running Club.
That's cool.
Because Runner's Edge said, "Hey guys, you guys are all meeting here. We love it.
Right.
Why don't you help join in this event that Andy's doing?" We do it in September typically.
Yeah. I have a problem with that, by the way.
Tell me about it.
Could you potentially not do it on the same day as my charity event,
Oh,
like
sorry,
last year?
bro. Sorry.
Because I lost a bunch of people to you.
No, I was the other way
yours was
around.
great.
I'm willing to accept the loss on that from my end. I'm sorry about that.
So shoot for a change. It's beautiful basketball right here.
Right on.
This year, it's September 13th and 14th.
We will not overlap this year. I'm sorry about that.
I'm like, I love Andy, but man.
Listen, between that and Boca Bowl, right? You got hammered this past year, right?
That was a Wade's thing.
The
Wade
Devil
did
Dog
the
Run.
Devil Dog Run on the same day.
Oh, yeah. Do you know Wade Waddick?
Sure, of course,
right?
yeah.
Get his people involved
September 13th and 14th.
Avoid it.
Avoid everything
Yeah.
else.
Don't
Shoot
plan
for a
events, go to
change.
Shoot for a
YMCA
Change.
Boca Raton.
Understood. I won't make that mistake again. Sorry.
I love that.
By the way, if you like basketball, it might be a good event for you.
Don't think I wasn't kicking myself, because I was like,
Right.
that is something I want to participate in.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
It's a lot of fun. All right, so let me ask you about growth. Boca is evolving. And as someone, like we were just talking about running, as someone running for mayor, what's your vision for Boca in the next, say, 5-10 years, and how do we preserve what makes it special while preparing for the future?
It's a
Excellent
great question.
Allow me to answer it with a parable. And I'll start because my frame of reference on a lot of things is my kids.
Sure.
Right? I have 5 kids. And over the course of time, having told this parable, the child in the parable changes. But right now, let's talk about Charlie. She's 6. 6-year-old child is like the perfect age for a parent. Why? Because they're not in their terrible twos anymore, and they're not throwing tantrums and just going crazy and yelling and all that. But they're also not 16 and asking me for keys to the car or talking about going on dates and asking for money.
Right.
He's spoken like a true parent, yeah. And so there's part of me that wishes that I can bottle up Charlie at age 6 and keep her that age forever. Right? I think every parent has probably felt that at one point or another.
Absolutely.
You wish that you could just keep them that age forever. But at the same time, you guys know this, I can't tell Charlie, go to your room, you're not growing up, you're not getting any older than 6, you're going to stay 6 years old forever, right? The job of a parent, you can't do that. That's not realistic. It's not real life. So instead, the job of the parent is to what? Is to put rules in place that govern their growth and that make sure that they grow responsibly, right? The same is true for a city like ours. Boca right now, and maybe a few years ago, it's like the perfect size. It's the perfect quality of life. And it's something that you want to bottle up and keep that way forever.
Right, it's beautiful.
And that is a perfectly human way to feel. You know, all of us, we moved to Boca for some reason, and there's something about it that drew us here. And we want to keep it that way, right? And I wish we could say Boca can't grow. We're not allowed to grow. But just like as a parent, I can't tell Boca, go to your room and don't grow up, right? The key is for us to put in place and enforce them, the rules, by the way, rules that govern their growth and make sure that the growth is done smartly and responsibly. And we do that. We do the best we can on that in Boca. And how we do that is by making sure that we have rules that ensure things that are called concurrency, which means that if before something gets built, we need to make sure we have the infrastructure in place to accommodate that, right? It's like before you start, it's like if I knew I had twins on the way and my 4-bedroom house wasn't going to be enough, what would I do? I'd probably work to try to find a bigger house, right?
Who'd you work with, by the way?
Nathanson Brothers,
Okay,
bro.
I just want to make sure.
That's right.
Get that clip in.
Right. Yeah, right. So, but the same way, the city needs to make sure before we grow in any significant way, whether it's one building or a project or anything, we need to make sure that we have the infrastructure in place to make sure that we can accommodate it. Roads, water, schools, all of it.
Yeah, fire, police, the
exactly.
hospital, everything.
Because otherwise, you're straining the resources that you have and putting it in, affecting the quality of the services for everybody.
For everyone.
And that's not something we want to do, right? So that's the real balance that local governments face, is balancing the demand for growth, which is likely inevitable, right? Especially nowadays.
Here in Paradise.
Exactly.
Everybody wants to be here.
Who could blame folks for wanting to be here, right? But you have to balance that with maintaining the quality of life as best you can. And that's one thing that I have done my best to try and not only just put in place the rules that govern the growth responsibly, but enforce them.
Yeah.
Awesome.
That's awesome. Nicely said.
like
Is that the first time you said that?
Yeah, he just thought about it.
What do you think are the biggest opportunities or challenges in Boca as of now?
I think it's just similar to what we just talked about, which was the ever-growing demand for people to want to be here and the need for us at the government to make sure that the quality of life stays high and that our taxes stay low. You know, local government, there's a way you can balance these things. And the key to balancing them is maintaining the quality of life while also keeping people's taxes low. Yeah. I am a very, very strong proponent of that. Every time just about that I voted on our city budget, we voted to decrease the property tax rate. And that helps affect the quality of life, right? If you start having, and this is what other cities face a lot of times, is they get into situations where the quality of life erodes. People then want to leave. No, people are no longer trying to get there, they're trying to leave there. And then when people are all selling and trying to get out, what it ends up doing is it decreases the demand for people to get there, it lowers property values, which means they have to increase taxes, and it's this vicious cycle, right? We haven't experienced that in Boca, not because of me, but just through very prudent government over the last 50 years. We've been able to create a situation where taxes are low and quality of life is high. The job of government, as I see it, is to maintain that relationship. And I'm going to keep doing that.
I love that. Thank you. That's awesome. So for people that would like to be involved, if they want to support or just better understand what's going on in the city, how can they do that? Great
question. And that is one struggle of local government, to be candid with you guys, because local government tends to do the things that people just, I don't want to say take for granted. They assume it will be done right. So things like your trash being picked up. If people didn't get their trash picked up, it'd be a major issue, but that doesn't happen in a place like Boca. The same thing with our water, with our pipes, with our roads, when you call 911, people show up. As long as those are true, people think government's doing its job and they don't really think much about it, right? But it would be great to have people know where to go and know how to get in touch with us in the event that there's something that they find that there's an issue with. And so, I mean, what I do, one of the things that I do, one of the reasons why I have the kind of outreach initiatives that I have is to make sure that people know that I am there to help them on any issue, large or small.
Right.
And so I'm readily will give out my email and particularly my cell phone number so that people know that they can contact me. Or don't hesitaate if you see me on the sports field or at Publix or wherever it is. Not the barbershop anymore. Sorry, Rusty. But I love them knowing, and they should know, that we are there to help them with whatever issue they have. And if they have a strong feeling about an issue and they don't feel like coming to a city council meeting, they don't have to. They can call, they can email. I value the input of all of our residents, and I hope that they know that I'm listening, we'll always listen, and we value the things that they have to say about our city because we just want to improve the city however we can, in whatever way we can.
Yeah, I think that's great, man.
That makes sense. I like that. And so because we always ask, we already mentioned Maggiano's. So outside of Maggiano's, what are a couple of favorite local restaurants and a favorite local dish? Like where do you like to go?
Good question.
I mean, granted, the man has 5 children. Does he go out to dinner? Like I don't know, but
good question. And it's tough. There's so many good choices to choose from. Maggiano's is an obvious one, and Anik there in particular has been fantastic to my family over the course of time. Another one, I think I'm a big fan of the Irishman.
Oh yeah,
Rossa and the Irishman they're good people. Have been very good to our public safety professionals over the course of time.
Very generous.
Yes. It's tough to choose. Yeah. It's like asking me to choose my favorite child.
Right. So which one is it?
Go ahead.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Right. So
that was the next question.
Here.
You read our notes.
Okay. Fair enough.
That works. I like that.
And by the way, look at him. He's not eating like we are. Anyway. He's running.
Yeah. Different.
Not fast.
Not fast, but running nonetheless. So as someone with kids in the school system, like a lot of our viewers and listeners, what are your hopes for the next generation?
That's a great question. Let's start in the near term. So the public schools, and I am a big consumer of the public schools here, as you guys know, are elite. The public schools, and I know if you guys are involved in real estate, you know that one of the reasons so many young families want to move here is because they want to take advantage of the incredible schools that are here. And we are blessed beyond measure that that's the case. We are wanting to do our best to make sure that the school district has whatever it needs from the city to make sure that they can continue to provide the elite education that they do. And that was one reason why we donated the land a few years ago to help build a new elementary school. That was slated to be built out west, way outside the city limits. And the city worked quickly to identify that plot of land so that it could be built here in the city and help address one of the impacts of the increased demand for people to move here is that a lot of families are coming and a lot of kids are coming in the school system. So what ends up happening is the schools can get, at times, a little bit overcrowded.
Sure.
Yeah.
My kids went to Calusa Elementary, which was, I think, built for 800 and had about 1,000 students there at the time. But because of the new building at Blue Lake and some shuffling of the boundaries, now there are, I think, 0 schools that are overcrowded in the city of Boca, at least at the elementary level. Boca High is a phenomenal school and has had issues when it came to overcrowding. But that's the thing is, like, sometimes we become victims of our own success in that way.
Right.
So we as the city don't build schools.
Right.
You know, we don't educate kids. We don't create curricula like that. But we can partner with our great partners at the school district to make sure that they can do what the things that they need to do to make sure our schools remain elite, which is what they are.
Right.
I love that.
Yes, they are.
And
My
then-
kids are thriving. I mean, I love it.
Yeah.
What school?
So, they went to elementary school just outside the limits at Del Prado.
Sure.
But my younger one's at Don Estridge now, and he's in 6th grade. I am so blown away at how amazing that school is, how the care, the teaching, he is thriving there.
Yeah.
It is amazing. My older one doesn't go in Boca. He's a singer, so he goes to Dreyfus.
Oh, right on.
Which is amazing as well. So that's not
Sure.
your wheelhouse, but
It's
a
not.
great school. Unbelievable. We've been so blessed.
Del Prado teaches a lot of kids that live in the city limits. So I've spoken there. I've spoken at Don, and I had the same reaction as you did, which is it is remarkable what the level of that they're able to do there.
Yeah. Yeah. And consistently, right?
Over
because
decades,
it's
yeah.
easy to do it for a little while.
right.
To stick with it, it's just,
it's
it's
impressive.
amazing.
Yeah.
All right. So imagine Andy Thomson has been elected mayor of Boca Raton. What are your top few priorities?
Oh, that's great. It's going to be a lot of it's going to be a continuation of the things we've done over the course of time, which is make sure we have a great business environment, make sure we have low taxes, make sure we have fantastic parks and recreational facilities for people, making sure we are safe and that we dedicate a good amount of resources to police and fire, making sure that we're clean, making sure that we are healthy, making sure that we continue the great partnerships that we have with the school district and the Beach and Park District and the variety of other stakeholders here. One thing I want to do is increase and enhance the relationship we have with FAU. Over the course of time, you know, Boca and FAU have had an interesting relationship.
Sure.
Because FAU's been around a long time, right? 60 years just about. And it's grown significantly in the last 10 or 15 years to the point where not everybody in town gets that we're a college town, right? Because there's a large college campus squarely in the middle of the city that has 25,000 people coming to it, students coming to it each day, right? I want to make sure that we have the best environment at the city level to make sure FAU continues to grow and thrive the way that it ought to.
That's awesome.
And that's not necessarily been the case, because it's like there's some just don't know what to do about the whole FAU thing. I love it. Remember, FAU is in my blood, so it matters a great deal to me that FAU knows that we love it. We're quick to point out all of the good things that FAU does when it became an R1 research university, went to the Final Four, but the city can do more to make sure that they feel welcome
here.
and they feel home, and that the students know that the city loves them and are happy that they're here.
Yeah.
I like it. That's cool.
And how awesome is the new president,
Very awesome.
Mr. Hasner, right?
I've known President Hasner for many years, and he's a good man.
What a good dude. So, we saw on Facebook or Instagram that he was picked, and we were at lunch at Jay Alexander's like a month or two ago, and I'm like, oh, I think that's the new president. And he's walking by, we're like, hey, congratulations.
Congrats, welcome.
He stopped and sat with us for like 20 minutes
that right?
and just chatted, and like, now he sees us. He's like, what's up, guys? So he calls us the dudes.
Yeah, the dudes.
What's up, dudes? Like,
Love it.
what a good dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really
We're
cool.
in good hands.
We love FAU.
Seems like.
We're season ticket holders for men's and women's basketball. We know half the staff over there. Like, great people. Yeah. It's a great organization. My son, my younger one, will play for the basketball team there.
You heard it here first.
It was either FAU or Duke, and I told him,
Stay
FAU 's
home.
better.
Stay home.
Yeah. Yeah.
Stay home. My parents met there in the library, 1967.
Wow.
Fell in love, got married, and I am the result.
That's so cool.
So FAU is a significant part of our life, and that's why it's such a blessing to be able to teach there.
Yeah, good for you, man.
It's good, such good stuff.
Absolutely. Awesome. So let's talk mindset for a moment.
Okay.
Leadership takes resilience, right? How do you stay focused and grounded?
Stay focused and grounded. That's great. Great question. Faith has a lot to do with it.
Yeah.
At least on the grounded part. I'm a Christian. Everybody knows this, and I take the teachings of Jesus seriously. And he embodied two things, probably more than anything: love and humility. And today actually is Thursday, the Thursday before Easter. It's the date that traditionally has been, what scholars believe to be the day that he had the Last Supper. It took place like tonight.
All right.
And that during the Last Supper, Jesus made an example of what humility and staying grounded looked like, because he washed the disciples' feet. Right at a time when he knew that everything in the power of the world had been granted to him. He took time, he got a basin of water, got a towel, and he washed the feet of his disciples and said, I'm giving you an example, go and do likewise. And that to me is, I read a saying once that said, if ever you think you're really something or that you've done something well, you need to wash some more feet. And so
That's beautiful.
That's always resonated with me. And so that's one way that I try and stay grounded, is stay scriptural and making sure that I am every day, as best I can, reading the Bible. So I've done that over the course of time, and I will continue to.
Right.
The first part of your question was resilient.
Yeah.
How do you stay focused?
Yeah. Better.
Resilient. Okay.
Leadership
So
takes resilience. Yeah.
yeah, it does for sure. It's like when I coach baseball, and baseball, maybe more than any other sport, is a game of failure, right? Think about it. Even the best hitters, right? They say strike or get out 7 out of 10 times, right? And so
You do that, you make the Hall of Fame.
Right.
exactly right. If you can hit 3 out of 10 times, you're an all-star and a Hall of Famer. And so that premise is tough for kids to understand, because they can get upset that they make a mistake or they strike out or they make an error in the field.
Yeah.
And we do our best to explain to them that what just happened, whether it was a strikeout or error or whatever, A, in baseball happens to everybody, and B, is not something you can control now, but that your attitude going forward will determine, in large part, success or failure in the rest of the game. And so I find myself having to try my best to explain this to 8, 9, and 10-year-olds every day that we're at practice. But you know something? It's just like it comes just like it is with my faith. You have to kind of preach these things to yourself too.
Yeah.
You know, life is a game of failure.
100%.
Not just baseball. Life is a game of failure. And if you're not failing, then you're really not trying many new things, right? And so I find myself really, I'm kind of firing myself up when I'm telling the kids this, because it applies not even just an equal part, but like even more, I think, to the kinds of things that we do, the ventures, the risks we take in life as adults, right, is going to be failure in some of these things.
Yeah.
some of the saddest thing in life, right, in the movie Bronx Tale is wasted talent.
Wasted talent.
And wasted talent a lot of times comes from not seeing things through or giving up at the first sign of failure. I'm not that guy. I'm not going to be that guy. I try to coach my players not to be that guy.
That's awesome. And I love that, I was a basketball coach. So first off, baseball is honestly my favorite sport, but nobody in my family likes it. So I don't really put a lot of time into it. I put into basketball because that's what it is. And I explain to the kids all the time, right? Because they go and miss a shot and they get upset. And I'm like, guys, the best in the planet miss more than half the time. That's right. And I say, how long is a game? 28 minutes, whatever it is, whatever they play. How long does it take to take a shot? I don't know, 2 seconds. I'm like, so you are going to let 2 seconds ruin 28 minutes? Get over it. You're going to miss more than half if you're good. Right?
Right. If you're the best, you'll miss more than that. That's right.
Yeah. And by the way,
That's right.
I have to tell myself that too. My brother reminds me all the time when I play, I'm a very emotional player as well. And when I miss a few in a row, you can see it on my face.
Yeah.
And I've worked really hard to get better at that personally. And by the way, this past week, you weren't at my game.
Sorry.
That's okay. So I came out, I hit 2 threes right away. And then I missed like 3 in a row. And I felt myself and I went, no, stick with it. The team needs you. You got to do this. And I ended up hitting 7 threes in the game.
Whoa.
I was 7 for 12. By the way, that's better than Steph Curry does.
That's right.
bad.
That's
So
right.
I'm basically better than Steph Curry.
At least on par with
The
Steph Curry.
competition
Right.
was
That's
similar,
right.
I think. But
Anyway, so speaking of awesome, so Andy, we have this segment we called the Book of Awesome. So our ask is,
ready?
Yeah.
our ask is for you to open up to a random page, and the book is really it's a kind of awesome things in life. Open up to a random page, read the headline at the top, and let us know if a story or a thought or a memory or something pops up. And if you get something crazy, because there are a handful in there that are out there, feel free to flip to a different page.
We're going with it. Here we go. All right. When someone offers to toss your dirty clothes in with their load of laundry.
Maybe not since college or something like that. I say you have a house with a wife and 5 kids. There's
pretty sure that happens every single day, right?
Yeah, I would say 1,000% of the time, my clothes are being washed with someone else's clothes, and that's obviously not a problem. Although, I guess the story I'll share is this. I remember going back years. When we were younger, my house that I grew up in at times didn't have air conditioning. We grew up down here, and there was no air conditioning, and that was tough at times. And I remember as a kid, and around the same time, our washing machine was on the fritz. And I remember I was going into middle school. We moved into an apartment that had air conditioning and a washing machine, a working washing machine. And I'll tell you guys, I thought I was in heaven.
Sure.
I thought I was in heaven.
Makes a difference. The little things, right?
Yeah, and one of the shames of getting older and having some degree of success in life is you don't remember quite so well those feelings,
Right.
and how good we have it all the time, exclusively good like, periods of time now. And that was one of the reasons why it led me to a similar reason was why I started doing the Run the City, which was when I was a kid, I didn't have a car. I didn't get my first car until I was 21. And I walked. I walked everywhere. I walked to work. I walked to the gym. I walked everywhere. And I remember getting my car. It was a Chevy Caprice.
Okay.
Which was like a gas guzzler, one of the most least efficient cars you could ever find, right? Former police car. But and AC didn't work in it. But I remember thinking, I've made it. It feels like I made it, you know? And I guess, I wish I'm guilty as probably as anybody is of sometimes taking those kinds of things, a car, air conditioning, washing machine that works, for granted now, because they've been part of our everyday lives for so long.
Yeah.
And you almost have to force yourself, like by walking or running, to be able to remember that feeling and understand that not everybody has it quite so well all the time. And so it is a blessing, as I'm telling myself this now, it is a blessing that I get to have a bunch of clothes with, kids who have thrown up and in with my laundry, because you want to know why? I got a working washing machine, which is not an automatic for everybody in this country, let alone this world. And I think that perspective can serve us well.
That's cool. Listen, I find the older I get, the more grateful I get. I am appreciating life so much more, everything the people, the stuff. Again, stuff, I don't give a shit about stuff. The people, the opportunities, the travel, the connection. Somebody asked me something recently. I'm a single guy. Somebody asked me something about this girl, and they're like, "Oh, she's really pretty. You should go for her." I'm like, I know who she is a little bit, and she's very pretty. I need more than pretty, because what I know of her, I don't find attractive who she is. Pretty is it, right? Just grateful about connection. I love that. That's awesome.
Nice.
That's awesome.
Now for the next part. You ready for this?
Yeah, shoot.
You have your cell phone on you?
Uh-huh. I think so.
I think you put it on the floor.
Yep.
Show the world your lock screen, the picture on it, and tell us what it means to you.
Yeah, what's the story
Sure.
behind it?
Great question.
All right, yeah.
All right, can you
swipe
see
your
it like
messages
this?
away.
Yep.
There's a little writing on there,
Okay.
and it says, I'm going to read it,
Yep.
all for his glory.
Okay.
Awesome.
And what it means to me is Christians and Jews have been taught the greatest commandment is to love God with all your heart, soul, mind, strength.
Mm-hmm.
And the corollary to that, the second part, is to love your neighbor as yourself. And it requires daily reminders, including on my phone home screen,
Mm-hmm.
to make sure that in everything I do, that I put God first, and I do everything that I do for his glory. And that, I remember hearing a politician years ago say the following: you don't have to bother telling me what your priorities are. What you need to do is show me your budget, and then I will tell you
What your priorities
are. What he meant was, like, in a government budget, like what a government spends money on is what it cares about. And that's true, by the way. It's very true.
Yeah.
But it's true, really, of any finite resource, not just money, but also time or your thought process, what you spend your time thinking about. And so if I am going to take the first and greatest commandment seriously, I need to make sure that my life reflects, through a budget of my time or my money or whatever, that I put God first and that I do all things for his glory. And so that's my way of reminding myself to do
Awesome.
That's awesome.
Thank you for sharing that. So we don't have any listener questions this week, but Andy, we know that you said you hear from constituents. As a matter of fact, I had coffee this morning with someone who I think reached out to you. I don't know if you've connected with him yet, but I know he said he reached out to you. What's a question you wish more people would ask before casting a vote?
Like in an election?
To you, yeah.
What is a question that I wish people would ask before they...
Right, about your budget, maybe, right?
That is a tough question.
They can't all be softballs.
No, but a good one.
kidding,
No,
yeah.
it's a great one, actually. One of the struggles we have at local government is when, and this comes up in my course that I teach. When people have very busy days, they do lots of stuff. People have hobbies, they work, they go to school, some of them, they have lots of responsibilities, they have lots of things to do. They don't spend a lot of time on average thinking about politics, thinking about government, right?
No offense.
No. And that's the point, though. And if they do, the people who do spend time thinking about politics on their average day probably spend it thinking about big stuff, national stuff, president, maybe Congress, maybe state stuff. But local stuff, no, not really.
Yeah.
Not really. I wish people, I don't know how to phrase this right. I wish people had a better sense of all the things that local government does to impact their everyday lives, right? I go through this thought exercise with some of my students when we get started in our course. We think about the first hour that you woke up this morning, both of you guys. What did you do? I'm just going to throw out some ideas. Tell me if it checks the box on what you did. You looked at probably an alarm clock or a phone that got charged with electricity somehow. You went to the bathroom, you brushed your teeth, you opened up the door to the refrigerator, you drove on a road, you drove past some cars, you drove past some buildings, you put the trash out, you flushed the toilet. All of those things in one form or another were brought to you in one way or another by local government, right? The water, the trash, the roads, the buildings, the police, the fire, the sanitation, everything. And because Boca in particular, and that's most local governments, do these things without any interruption most of the time, nearly all the time, people just assume that they will always be like that.
Right.
But they don't realize that it does take real work. It takes real planning. It takes prioritization. It takes budgeting in order to make these things work in a way that allows the quality of life to be retained and doesn't make you pay through the nose in terms of your taxes. So I wish maybe, to answer your question, the question I wish people had was, I wish they had a better understanding of how responsibly we spend their tax dollars in order to get them the services that they get, which are, in Boca anyway, second to none.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
That was a great answer to
Nice
the question.
job, man.
Thank you.
Wow.
I appreciate that.
All right, let's take our last commercial break.
Done.
You ready? So our past guest feature, Letty and Sean Cronin, the Bug Lady Pest Control. So this week's guest spotlight goes to siblings Letty and Sean Cronin, a.k.a. the Bug Lady team.
Lady.
They're a family-run business with a passion for pest education and safe, effective solutions. From pest control to proactive education, they've been protecting homes for decades and teaching our community how to coexist with the wild side of South Florida. So visit buglady.com to learn more. And for a special offer, tell them the Digital Mayor sent you.
That's us. That's us. So Letty and Sean are continuing a family legacy. And it was started by their dad of protecting South Florida homes. So briefly, what kind of legacy are you looking to leave in Boca?
That's a great question. I would love to be known as somebody who put God first and loved his neighbors. And I talked a moment ago about putting God first and how important that is to me and making sure that I spend time, whether it's in good or bad, making sure that I'm worshiping and praising him. But loving your neighbor is an outgrowth of the same premise. And one thing that I've been working on over the last few months that I think is really, really important to me is an emphasis, a re-emphasis in our city on loving your neighbor. And everybody's heard that phrase, love your neighbor. It's like a mandated, spans every religion just about. But what if, in the course of, especially Christian teaching on neighbors, is that anybody in need is your neighbor, whether they're your enemy or somebody who hates you or you never talk to, that's your neighbor. And if they're in need, you have to help them. And we should do that. That's good. That's right. Jesus taught that. But the other part that I think may get overlooked if we look at neighbors that way is, what about your actual, literal next-door neighbor? And in a city as beautiful as ours is, and as with a high quality of life as we have, I'm finding more that I talk to people, and I'm no different actually, that we may have over time not spent a lot of time cultivating the relationships that we have with our literal next door neighbors, like the people who live immediately next to us, like the 10 or 12 homes next to us. So what I've been doing is working on an initiative with all of the religious institutions in town, Jewish, Muslim, Christian, to reemphasize over the course of this next year, our city centennial, our 100th anniversary, to really work on and helping equip people to love and care for their next door neighbors.
Beautiful.
And top among the folks who need, the care and the love are, our elderly population. I'm a family, I'm in my 40s, my wife and I, we have 5 kids who are running around all the time. We have lots of things that we're doing. We have lots of people who come over to the house. We're always out. We're always doing something, whether it's basketball or baseball or city council or FA or whatever. As we get older, those kinds of responsibilities and activities kind of diminish over time or can, to the point where we have neighbors, all of us do one way or another, that may be feeling isolated or lonely or disconnected. And it's not necessarily just older folks, everybody.
Right.
It probably is feeling some form of disconnectedness over time. All of us in our city, even though it's a place of significant wealth, all of us are dealing with something.
Yeah.
It could be substance abuse, it could be health issues, it could be depression, it could be anything.
Yeah.
I would love for the city of Boca Raton, over the course of time, to be known as the place that has the greatest neighbors on the planet.
That's cool.
And it can start with just by simply reaching out, spending more time outside, reaching out to your neighbors, checking in on them, making sure that you create an atmosphere where people are sharing with one another at their neighborhood level. And so, at this point, maybe 35 or 40 religious institutions, houses of worship in town, have agreed to participate in this initiative where we're going to be reemphasizing the import of loving your neighbors and also equipping folks to be able to do it in a way that can make a meaningful, tangible impact,
lasting impact
on the streets. Yeah.
Beautiful.
Love that.
I love it. Andy, we want to say thank you so much for being here today and sharing. your story, your mission, your heart for the city it's contagious.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, it feels real. And so if you want to learn more about Andy's platform, his campaign, get involved, or just connect with Andy, follow him at Andy Thomson Boca, no P in Thompson, on Instagram and LinkedIn.
Yes, and for all things real estate, mortgage, home improvement, and outdoor upgrades, head over to nathansonbrothers.com.
Right. And just please remember, follow the Digital Mayors podcast on Facebook and Instagram. Subscribe on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts, please.
Yes, and if you enjoyed this episode, which I know you did,
How can you not?
make sure to download it, leave a five-star review, and tell your friends. Tell your friends, please. That's how we keep growing in this amazing South Florida community.
Yeah. So, Andy, thank you. We appreciate your time. And until next time, thanks for tuning in, and bye for now.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Well, you're great, Andy. Thank you.
Well,